Hello and welcome back to the Grad Compound. I get a lot of questions about how much do tankless water heaters cost? Is it right for me? And you know what? That's a big question. I'm going to try to address that, try to give you some ballpark information to help you decide whether or not tankless water heaters really are right for you in your particular situation. They are not right for everybody. Of course, no one size fits all, but these things really can be great for a lot of consumers. So we're going to jump right into it and we'll take them kind of one thing at a time. The first thing you need to determine to figure out whether or not a tankless water heater is right for you is what your reasons are for even looking at tankless water heaters. Obviously you want hot water, but a tankless water heater will deliver 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much hot water as a tank. They're a luxury high-end appliance, so they do cost more money. So let's just deal with that right away. You can expect to pay about double, sometimes a little more than double, the cost of replacing your tank water heater if you were replacing a tank water heater with a good quality tankless water heater. Now, I'm not talking about the ones the home centers sell or the ones that the tankless.com people sell. In fact, I'm going to get into that in a minute. I will tell you, don't go that route if you can help it. It's not going to be a good solution for you. The money you save up front, you're going to end up paying a lot more when somebody botches the install, because no one good is going to want to put it in if you supply it. But anyway, most in my area in the state of Virginia, most of Virginia, including Northern Virginia, DC, and even Maryland, the going rate for a good tankless water heater job retrofit is between $3,000 and $4,000, depending on which model you need for your home. There's a lot of different sizes. And that's mainly gas tankless water heaters, okay? And I'm going to say this is brand generic. There are 4 or 5 brand name gas tankless water heaters out there that are all in about the same price range, and that's about where they should fall, installed by a reputable company. And remember, you can always get something cheaper, but sometimes saving some money from one contractor to the next ends up causing you a lot of heartache. You may hire somebody that doesn't know what they were doing, and that's why they were pricing it so cheap to begin with. So that's about the going rate in this part of the East Coast. I'm guessing that in some parts of the country maybe a little less, and in some parts maybe a little more. One thing that I have found is a lot of the larger companies, the larger plumbing and heating outfits, actually charge quite a bit more money. Sometimes as much as $1,000 more money. I've seen a job, same house, quoted at $3,800 from one contractor and $5,500 by another contractor. Same job, same equipment, same everything. Just one of them happened to have a couple hundred trucks, and the other guy had 3. The guy with 3 trucks does just as good a job. There's no quality difference, really. Both are great contractors. Just one of them has a huge overhead they have to feed. So they charge a lot more money for their services, and that's just kind of the way it is. But you definitely do want your tankless water heater installed by a reputable contractor that's familiar with these machines. If you're not willing to pay for a trained, licensed contractor to install your tankless water heater, I will tell you right now, the tankless water heater is not for you. Gas or electric, they should be installed by a trained, licensed professional, or you will end up sorry. It's not going to work, or it's not going to last very long. Alright, so let's deal with the next natural question. Why does a tankless water heater cost so much more than a tank? Well, you know what? If you look at a 75-gallon power vented tank water heater, which is a good high capacity tank, the cost of the machine is actually very similar. In fact, in some cases, the tankless water heater costs less than the tank. The difference is these machines use a special vent pipe that cannot reuse what you have in the house, so they have to run a new vent pipe, which typically means cutting a hole in the wall and abandoning what you have going through the roof, if that's the way it is, or some other work. The longer the vent pipe, the more expensive the installation is going to be. And also, the gas piping that goes to your existing tank, assuming we're talking gas, is too small. The tank's burner is typically about 75,000 BTUs. These have to run, when they go to high fire, at up to 199,000 BTUs. So there's almost always a new gas line to run. And those two components actually add quite a bit to the price of the install project. These are not things you want to skimp on. If these things are not done right, if your gas pipe, this black pipe here, if this pipe's not the correct size and you don't have the correct pressure for your system, it's not going to work, or it won't work well. And more than once I've seen problems where people have said it's worked fine for a year and a half and now it's broke. And the reason is it wasn't working fine. It was working, but it wasn't working fine because it didn't have enough gas. And now there's a big problem and a big repair bill coming. With the vent pipe, again, almost all of these machines use a special vent pipe, and they're different from brand to brand. That matters. If you screw up the gas pipe, the heater doesn't work. If you screw up the vent pipe, people can die. It is the most dangerous part of any gas appliance is actually the vent, not the gas. Carbon monoxide poison is a very real danger, and that's why I will always say, please have these products insured by a licensed, insured, trained professional, or get something else. So your next question, we're trying to determine if the tankless water heater is right for you, and what it's going to cost is, well, which model do I need? And again, I'm keeping this video brand generic for everyone, and there are different brands. You need local representatives or the local dealers to help you figure out what size you need. There is no one size fits all. There are some kind of norms in between. Most homes, 2.5 to 3.5 bath homes, really only need about 5 to 6 gallons a minute of hot water. That's really about all most homes use, unless you have something luxury, you know, body sprays, rain heads, things of that nature. So that's kind of an average size tankless water heater, and that's going to put you in that $3,000 to $4,000 range in a lot of cases. But maybe you have a smaller home. Maybe it's just a bath and a half, or a 2.5 bath home where you can use a smaller heater. That's going to put you on the lower end of that range, maybe even below 3, especially in certain outlying areas where there may be other economic forces at work and the jobs don't cost that much. Or maybe if you're in the middle of DC, up in Washington, it may cost more because everything costs more up in DC. So you need to get a little help in determining what size water heater is right for your needs. If you're in the southern part of the United States, you can get a lot more water, hot water, out of a smaller tankless because your groundwater is coming in a lot warmer. If you're in the northern tier states of the United States, groundwater temperature can be very cold, but remember, it's always going to be above 32 because you can't float ice. So you're probably looking at 35 to 40 degree water in the colder climate areas, and that may impact the size of the tankless water heater that you need for your home, and also, of course, the pricing. So that's kind of ballpark what you can be looking for in a retrofit, you know, going into an existing home, pulling out a tank, putting in a tankless water heater, and I hope that helps. Now we're going to talk about new construction. So you're about to get a house built and you don't know if a tankless water heater is right for you in your new home. This is where it gets totally different. Remember in the earlier part of the video I told you that a tank 75-gallon high output water heater is going to cost about the same as your average tankless water heater. In new construction, we don't have to run a new vent because we're starting from scratch. We don't have to run a new gas line because we're starting from scratch. So the vent is going to cost a little more money. It is still special, and it is more expensive than a lot of the tank water heater vent pipe. The gas pipe is only going to be a little bit more expensive. So in new home construction, in most cases, a tankless water heater is only going to add about maybe $1,000 to $2,000 to the price of the house over a tank. So on your mortgage, that equates to basically pennies. Now, what am I getting for that extra money on that new house by putting in a gas-fired tankless water heater? You're getting a 20-year life expectancy, not 10. So if you're going to be in that house any length of time, 10 years from now, you got to figure you're probably going to have to replace that tank. The other thing is, of course, endless hot water. You can't run these things out no matter what you do. They're not burning gas when you're not home, when you're not running hot water. They're just sitting still. So there's a tremendous advantage to having tankless over a tank. In new construction, I will say it's a no-brainer. There's no reason to put a tank in a house in new construction anywhere in the United States, period. You can always get a tankless in easier than a tank. They take up less space as well. With a little bit of thought, there's no reason to have a new home without a tankless water heater. Retrofit's a little bit different. Not everybody's going to want to spend the money. Not everyone should spend the money. All right, kind of back. Let's go back a minute to an existing home. If you know you're going to be moving out of that house in a couple years and you have a tank that's failed, there's no point in spending $3,000 to $4,000 for a product that you're not going to really be able to get a benefit out of if you're going to be moving in a couple years. Put the tank back in. No big deal. So I hope that's helped you, new construction and retrofit on gas tankless. And in the final segment, I want to talk to you about the electric tankless water heaters and if one of those might be right for you. Electric tankless water heaters. This is where things start getting a little trickier. All right, and a lot of it's going to have to do with where you are in the country, what your incoming water temperatures are, and those sort of things. There are some very good electric tankless water heaters on the market now, and there's some that are pure junk. Home centers, I'm sorry, forget about it. You do not want one of those water heaters, run. Don't even think about it. That would be my air conditioning, or rather my heating system kicking in. Now, when you're dealing with a whole house electric tankless, one thing you want to remember is none of them control flow. Most of the gas water heaters will control the flow so you can't overshoot them. With an electric, sizing is very important, because if you undersize the water heater and flow more water through it than it can heat, you're going to get a cooler temperature water on the outlet side. In other words, it won't be able to keep up if you flow too much water. So you need to make sure that the size is going to be appropriate for your job. In my area, most houses will do very good with a 28 kW or a 32 kW electric tankless water heater, 2.5 bath, maybe even 3.5 bath home, depending on how you're going to use it. Those can work fine. If you don't have the gas, that could be a good option for you. You want to be careful to choose an electric tankless water heater that has a couple of features. You do not want one that slams the elements on at a high amp rate and stages them like a 4-element system slams on the first element at 40 amps. Wham! That's a big hit to your panel. It's going to cause the lights to flicker, and it's going to cause your energy bill to flicker up. You want to look for a water heater that's going to turn on all 4 elements in that 4-chamber model at the same time at 6 to 7 amps and ramp up smoothly from there. It's easier on your electrical panel, it's easier on your bill, won't dim your lights, and it's going to give you a lot better temperature control too, because instead of bouncing an element on and off during a low flow at 40 amps, overheating the water and then underheating the water, giving you temperature swings, it's going to do a much better job. Right now, the only one I'm aware of that does that is a company called Cisco. Very good electric tankless water heater. You also want one that's going to have elements that, if they go bad, are going to be relatively easy and relatively inexpensive to replace. That particular model, again, has screw-in elements, very similar to the ones that are on a tank water heater. They're actually made by a major tank water heater element manufacturer. So they're relatively easy to get, and they're not that expensive. Everything breaks eventually. That's a very good serviceable model. So again, with the electrics, you really need to know how they operate. You need to understand that if you're filling the big tub with that electric tankless water heater, depending on how fast your tub filler works, you may have to throttle it back a little bit where it can keep up. It will fill the tub, but if you flow the water too fast for it to heat, you're going to have to slow it down a little bit, which is fine. Your tub fills up, you're not out of hot water. You still are able to take the back-to-back showers and so forth. If you have a higher flow rate need than that, maybe 4 or 5 bath homes, body sprays, things of that nature, either you're going to need to go to a gas-fired water heater, or you're going to have to double up on the electrics. Now, somebody out there right now is saying, oh yeah, you need to have 120, 130 amps to run one of those electrics, and you don't have the room in your panel. That's actually false. A 200 amp panel with the water heaters I'm talking about, the water heater panel load is only 54 amps. Panel load is what matters. You don't just add up all the breakers. When you hit 200 in a 200 amp panel, you're done. That's not how it works. However, if you have to double them up, if you need more than one, then you may have an electrical upgrade to consider. That may change the conversation. So a good electric tankless can absolutely be a viable option. Where you get into trouble is where the salesman will tell you anything you want to hear to buy that product. And that's kind of tough. Salesmen are pretty good at their jobs. So use your best judgment, but pay attention to what people are telling you. You're welcome to contact me. I'll help you if I can. Obviously, I can't speak for every part of the country, but I can maybe give you some ideas. I'll do the best I can as long as it doesn't overwhelm me too much. And hopefully this video will help you out. Those water heaters cost installed is probably going to be fairly similar to the smaller gas tankless water heater installations. You are going to have some electrical work to do, some new circuits to run. Big copper wires are not cheap. So I'm going to say that a typical 32 kW electric tankless in a retrofit is probably going to still run you around $3,000 installed. Now, next segment, I'll tell you about how you should buy your tankless water heater if you decide that it's right for you. Alright, so now you've decided that a tankless water heater might just be something you want to consider. So you call and get a few prices. Guys, do yourself a favor. Get 3 prices. Figure out from the homework you've done in your area what brand or brands you're interested in considering. Don't go crazy with 5 different brands. No one wants to talk to a customer like that. I'm just being honest with you. You need to get 3 prices on a reputable product with reputable contractors and make your decision based on the feedback you get. Check the references, and that's who you should do business with. If you call someone up and say, hey, I'm getting 7 prices on this tankless water heater, so you better bring a sharp pencil, anybody worth having in your home is going to tell you to go pound sand. They're not even going to talk to you, because at that point you don't care anything about quality, you don't care anything about the service. All you care about is the price, and they're not interested because you're not going to choose them. Be careful. People who act like that, consumers, if you're one of those consumers, you better quit. It's going to get you eventually, because you're hiring jacklegs that don't know what they're doing based on price, and it's going to end up costing you a lot of money. And I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be one of these. It could be any plumbing or heating item, even electrician work. You don't want to hire just some guy on price. You want to deal with someone that has good reputation, a good business, insurance, and will give you a fair price. That's how you're going to get your best work. Same with these. If you want to use a Rinnai, go to Rinnai's website. Look for a platinum dealer, preferably one with authorized service provider ability. They don't have to have that. There's some very good installers that are not authorized service providers because they don't want to go fixing everybody else's problems. But those are the dealers you want. Noritz, Takagi, Navien, State, Rheem, geez, I'm sure I'm missing 5 or 6 others. All these places have websites, some better than others. You want to deal with a reputable, trained dealer. You don't have to trust me, I have nothing to sell you, but I'm telling you, if you buy one of these water heaters from one of these .coms and then try to find somebody to install it, they don't want to deal with you. You haven't let them make any money, so they could care less about your job. And if something's wrong with that appliance, guess who it is now? It's all on you. Home centers, same thing. Home centers typically have either remanufactured products or knockoff products, sometimes made by the manufacturers themselves, but they're still knockoffs. You're not going to get the local support that you would get of the full brand name product. And of course, again, no one wants to talk to you. No one's going to want to install it. If you're going to buy one of these products like that, you better be able to install it yourself and do it correctly. If you install it wrong, chances are the warranty's void. Not in all cases, but in most cases, if you install it wrong, that's not a warranty issue. Number 2, if you install it wrong and it causes damage to your home and you're not a licensed contractor, your homeowners may not cover it. So you need to think about that too. The safety of your family is worth more than that. If you're interested in a tankless water heater, hopefully this video has helped you decide whether or not it's right for you. And again, these are high-end appliances. They're not for everybody. But if you think a tankless water heater is right for you, I hope you will, again, deal with a licensed and insured installer. So with that, please hit like, the little thumbs up button down there. Subscribe to my channel. Check out my other Tankless 101 videos. And feel free to comment or ask me any questions. I'll do the best I can. Thanks for stopping by.